Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me in another of my monologues. And first of all, can I just say a big thanks to everybody who is supporting the channel. It's very much appreciated. It's very difficult to keep the channel going when you've been demonetized by YouTube and you've spent most of your time dealing with the emails that come in, trying to make videos and going around helping people, doing talks and what have you. As you probably appreciate, I don't have any other form of income at the moment, so it's been very valuable, and I'm hoping that I can continue. So big thank you for that. That's really, really kind of you. Know thyself is the thumbnail description of this, and I've spoken in similar terms to what I want to talk about before. I think in many ways this is the crux of some of the problems that we have with interaction with the government and utilities and those sort of things. But also this goes back to, I mean, it's pure metaphysics really, spirituality as well. Because unless you know thyself, unless you know who and what you are, you tend to fall into the trap of interacting with these corporations as something that you're not. And I just want to sort of go through a little bit of that. I've been reading a book that I read when I was about 18. I don't have the original version. My dad had it on his shelf and I got interested in the metaphysical when I was about 18. So I bought recently a more update copy. This is a Quest of the Overself by Dr. Paul Brunton. And he was writing in the 30s. This one was published in 1937. There's another book called The Secret Path that he wrote, and another one, I think, The Wisdom of the Overself. Anyway, he wrote quite a few books on the spiritual nature of man, and he had been over and trained, I think, with Eastern yogis, philosophers, and various people. And at that time, 90 years ago, it was right at the beginning of, I suppose, a spiritual awareness. And then we saw coming into play a lot of the ills of the world, the capturing of the human. We think of ourselves, many people write to me, and in common law, they write to me and they say, I am a living man. And this is something that's used a lot in letters that people write to these dead entity councils, the utility bills, or dealings with the government in various different departments and say, well, I'm a living man. And I want to question just that, for that in my mind is not fully the truth. And so I just want to look at that, because on the one hand, these corporations cannot, just as in court, cannot deal with a living man, in inverted commas, because they want and can only deal with another corporation. Because they are a corporation, they can only deal with another corporation, which is why they address you as Mr. Fred Bloggs in capital letters, or Mrs. Hilda Bloggs, whatever the name is that they're using. So I want to just go down this metaphysical route just for a moment and ask you, who are you? Who are you? Or what are you? What am I? And this is well thought now, I suppose, in spiritual circles. But I just want to go through. Back in 1937, perhaps people were being introduced to this for the first time. And he spends a lot of time exploring what we're not in order to try and get to what we are. And this will be very familiar territory, I'm sure, for many people. So what am I? Am I a body? Well, I have a body, but am I? Is that the it that is me? The body, the arms, the legs, And if so, is it possible then when I'm asleep that the body is the thing that makes me live? Other than it has organs and lungs, blood, guts, the whole work. Is it purely just that? And yet I can still be aware of things, have dreams, and yet the body is inert during sleep. Am I just purely a physical body? We know that if you chop an arm off, has that made me a lesser person, a lesser thing? Am I lesser because I've lost an eye? Am I lesser because I no longer have any legs if I've had an accident? We know that's not the thinking, feeling thing. The body, we can get rid of quite a lot of the body and still effectively be alive and be aware. So we're not a body, and I think we can all agree that we're not just a flesh and blood body, as some people say, you know, I'm a living man, I'm flesh and blood. But that's really, if we're not really that. So then you think, well, am I the emotions? Am I just a bundle of emotions? But I can't possibly be emotions, purely emotions, because they come and go quite fleetingly. You know, you can be angry one minute, something pisses you off and you can be angry about something, or you can be overawed by a beautiful scene or touched by a marvelous gesture. You can fall in love. You can be confused. Your emotions are something that seems to you use, and perhaps sometimes they overtake you, but are they you? I don't think they are. I can't see how they could possibly be, that there is not one emotion that stays rigid all the time, that you can say actually in all the emotions, that's me. I don't think that could be it. So we're left with the intellect and our thoughts. And when I say the intellect and intelligence, I don't mean the ability to run a mathematical program in our head incredibly quickly or deeply, say like an Einstein character. I'm just talking about the intellect as is a thing that has thoughts, that has ideas, that has can mull over problems, that reasons, uses logic. And so you might say, well, is that what we are? We just the sum total of some thoughts. But thoughts are even more fleeting than emotions. Thoughts come and go like nobody's business, and sometimes it's very hard to capture these thoughts. And we can go off in a daydream, and we're not even aware of that it's us doing those thoughts, as it were. So it can't possibly be just the thoughts, because the thoughts can be so transient and fly around, and sometimes, you know, they have a thought and it's gone before you've even fully fledged it out. So is that who we are? Again, I don't say that we are. So we're continually pushing away like the onions of a skin. We're unwrapping ourselves and saying, well, we're none of those things. The fact that the I am, the what is it that I am, is I suppose aware of these things, because we use it in language, don't we? My body, which means I possess a body, but I am not the sum total of the body. It's not the body that's me. It's just I have that body. I have a feeling. I feel. So I'm in possession of a feeling, so it can't possibly be me. I think. So it's the I bit, the ego, if you like, is doing the thinking. It isn't the thinking that is me. Now, this may seem bleeding obvious to most of us, and to you, of course. So what is it that we are? If you strip back that, what are we? To me, it seems that we are some form of consciousness that has attention. If we choose it, we don't say, well, I suppose my attention is focused on. So attention in and of itself is not what we are. The I is something much deeper than that. It is some awareness. And people might call that the soul, they might call that the spirit, they might just call it the I, as in I am, the ego, the soul. Whatever they want to call it, this I, which has all these things associated with it, it seems to me that's not us. We're certainly not a label, a name. And so this then comes crashing back to how we're treated in the corporate world. And when I say the corporate world, this world here that's run by corporations, this fake world that is wrapped around the real world, in which a corporation such as the government, registered on Dun and Bradstreet, and various departments and limited companies, that they want to interact you as a as a corporation with a title that where does that come from? Who gives you that title? Not your mum and dad, for one thing. And then these capital letters, which they join a forename and a surname together, and then it's registered at the Crown Corporation, and they're calling you this. So when the letter comes, of course, it's just the same as a letter that comes to say Sherlock Holmes, a complete fiction that's not you, because me, the I am, is not a living man, not limited to that. I might have the living body, but I'm not just that. I'm separate from all those things. I may use those things. They are my possessions. So if you were to say, well, where do you sleep? I sleep in my body. I don't really sleep because the I am doesn't seem to sleep at all. The I am, the I in us, it dreams. It doesn't seem to switch off. It seems to be a constant consciousness that is just there. Now, some people may think I'm just talking rubbish, and I understand that some people may feel that way because perhaps they have not looked in any depth at who and what they are. But my point of going through all of this is to say that when corporations, utility companies, the councils are trying to address you, they're writing to a label. They're writing to a label which clearly is not you. And so, because you're more than that, you might use these things, but it's not actually you. And so, what are you? Therefore, if you're not the label that's been created fraudulently by the Crown Corporation with the entry of a birth, what we commonly call the birth certificate, they're writing to something else. And this is important to, I think, in pushing back. If you're one of these people that wants to push back and is questioning the legitimacy, say, of the council tax or HMRC and saying, hang on a minute, why is it you have this hold over me and you want me to pay you these tokens, the fiat currency, that I have to spend time and energy to gather by working, and now you want some of them back, especially as they can print the bloody things themselves, when we are in fact sort of spiritual something, an awareness. So I now start saying to these people when they write to this legal fiction name, I just, again, as I said before, I question who they're writing to. Who are you writing to? Because this isn't me. This is not me. This is a name. You're writing to something. And I'm now suggesting that I am in London. And if they press further, I'll say I'm in the births, marriages and death department. This name, right? Not I. The name is that, because that must be where it is, because they're writing to a fiction that is kept in a file somewhere. But if they do want to write to me, for the sake of ease and some form of way of identifying me, they can write to a sound. And by that I mean they can write to the sound Richard, which if you transpose onto paper with lowercase letters is Richard. You know, my mum wanted to address me in this way, or wanted to get my attention by calling me Richard, and I've accepted that Richard. So other people might say, no, I want to be Baldy or Vobesy or you. All legitimate. So you could even say to the council as they write to you, say, well, listen, I answer to the name OYU. Write to me as OYU or whatever. But don't write to me as this legal fiction, Mr. Fred Blogs, whatever, because that's not me. That's been made up by somebody else. So what I'm trying to say is that I've seen people using these letters to push back. And they've sent them copies to them. They seem to want to stay in the jurisdiction, and they say, well, I'm Mr. Fred Blogs and I'm a living man. And it's just an oxymoron, because you can't be a dead entity and then a living man. So I just say it's got nothing to do with me whatsoever. But if you do want to write to me, if you do want to contact me, then use this name that I'll accept to identify me. Richard, Vobesy, Baldy, or you, whatever, you know. Contact me with that. That's how to contact me. And of course they can't, and they won't, because if they do, they step out of the jurisdiction. But if one acquiesces and says, yeah, no, that's me, yeah, I am Mr. Fred Blogs, I am Sherlock Holmes, then that's who we become in their eyes, and we end up in joinder with them. So I think it's always wise to return a letter that comes to you, especially in capital letters, and just question, who are you writing to? I'm not sure, because this isn't me. And if you want that person, he's up in London in a department somewhere. But if you are talking to me, then just get my name right, you know, because I don't know where that name came from. You seem to have made up that name, but it ain't me. You can call me Vobesy. Just write to Vobesy and it will get to me, and I will happily then correspond with you. But of course, they can't, because in their world they need one corporation to talk to another corporation, and that's where the difficulty is. Knowing thyself, knowing who and what we are, gives us the confidence to push back and say, that's not me. Because even if that you get letters to court, who are they trying to get? This dead entity. Well, you know, if the Crown is calling for Mr. Fred Blogs, and it's a Crown copyrighted name, the Crown is effectively calling and trying to take to court itself, its own creation, which is all fictitious. All fictitious. Anyway, I don't know whether any of that was any help. It's a great book, and if you're new to all this metaphysical stuff, I'd recommend it actually. Dr. Paul Brunton, The Quest for the Overself. It's a fascinating spiritual path that takes you to understand who and what you are. And in the end, you come to that realization that you know thyself. Thank you for watching.